cyber fraud is expected to become the country's most common crime. Estimates put the number of victims at between 3 and 4 million people every year.
Virtual offences more likely to go undetected than real-life robberies.
So you went by Cosmo the God.
Yes.
Did you feel like a god?
Yes.
Cosmo the God shot up to fame when he exposed private information for the likes of Donald Trump, Michelle Obama, and loads of other high-profile celebs.
When we say these accounts are hacked, what exactly has happened? What sort of information are they getting access to and how?
So somebody's broken into the servers at Yahoo and have stolen your name, email address, date of birth, telephone number, and really importantly, encrypted and unencrypted security questions and answers.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today is a little bit different because we're recording live from the Hull Tech Expo. We were lucky enough throughout the day to be joined by a variety of guests, and this podcast is going to be focused on Liam Carter, who is the Cybercrime Protect Prevent Officer for North Yorkshire Police. So Liam gave us loads of really great insight in terms of how you can protect yourself from a cyber perspective, which is increasingly important in today's world. Because it's live, there is a little bit of background noise, so I apologise for that, but it's really going to be worth it because of the insight that you're going to get. And with all that said, welcome to Tomorrow's Workplace Today. Welcome to Liam Carter to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
So for listeners, watchers, and for us, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, who you are?
Of course, yeah. So, I'm Liam Carter. I'm a police officer. I work for North Yorkshire Police. I'm here with the Regional Cybercrime Unit, the Yorkshire and Humber Regional Cybercrime Unit. I work in our Forces Cybercrime Unit. My role within the department is to engage with communities, with individuals, with businesses, raising awareness about cyber-dependent crimes.
Okay.
And educating those individuals on how they can either foremost prevent themselves from falling victim of a cyber-dependent crime, or if they have already fallen victim, educating them on how they can prevent that from happening again in the future.
Okay.
And the second aspect of our role is around early intervention with young individuals who are potentially crossing the line and committing cybercrimes, low-level cybercrimes. And rather than seeing them enter the criminal justice system and potentially sort of losing any career opportunities in the future, we try and engage with them at an early opportunity, at an early stage, giving them resources and tools, educating them around what the law is, how they can stay on the right side of the law, with the view of them hopefully going on in the future to getting a great career in cybersecurity or in that sort of sector.
Good stuff. So cybercrime is an area that my perception of it is it's getting more and more complex, and they're more and more, I guess, intelligent in terms of the way that they're doing it. So what are the emerging trends in terms of cybercrime? What are people doing? What should we be looking out for?
So it's effectively we deal with cyber dependent crime. So that's around hacking and around sort of virus attacks, that sort of thing. Predominantly, a lot of what we see is around social media compromise. So people's social media accounts being hacked, people's email accounts being hacked. And then the hackers then using the compromised account to send messages out to everybody's contacts, or to friends, families, relatives, effectively pretending to be the person whose profile they've compromised, saying, "I'm stuck in a foreign country. Could you please send me £200 to this bank account? I need to get home," or things to that effect. And then the contacts think, "Yeah, it's them. I've got to help them." They transfer £200.
I had this with my friend. Yeah, he's got a business page, like a strength conditioning business page, and all of a sudden I got this Instagram message, and I was a bit like, I was reading it thinking, that's unlike Sam. Why is he messaging me that? And then I was scrolling through, and then I messaged back, and then they tried to engage in conversation with me as if they were my friend, and I was a bit like. So then I messaged him on his text, and I was like, have you been hacked? And it was odd, but yeah, it's completely. So he'd grown that social media presence for 10 years, and just lost the page more or less overnight, and then he had to start again and do the page again. So it's
So what should people be doing to protect themselves from that type of attack?
So what we recommend is having a strong separate password for that account. And the way we recommend creating those passwords is using 3 random dictionary words. So what we say is that do not use anything that is attributable to yourself. So don't use things like dates of birth, surnames, your name, mother's maiden name, anything like that. 3 random words that are completely unbeknown to anyone else. Example would be purple monkey dishwasher. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not, unless your favorite color is purple, you're a dishwasher engineer and you like monkeys. Nobody's going to guess what your password is. So, and we want you to have a separate password for all of your accounts. The way that we tend to see that these cyber criminals find out your password is if you've been subject to a data breach. And your personal details have been posted online. That can quite often include a password. So if you use that same password for all of your different accounts, if that one data breach is giving your password and an email address, the cyber criminals are going to go up to all different types of accounts, different service providers, and think, we'll try this, and they're going to get into your accounts. So that's why we say different password for different accounts.
And I'm making an assumption here, but the people that carry out those attacks, can they do that en masse? So once they get an email address and a password, can they go?
Yes. Yeah, they can. Yeah.
Which is worrying, isn't it?
It is very worrying, particularly with the amount of personal details that are held on your online accounts. We can't stress how important it is to keep those secure. We particularly recommend as well your email account, making sure that your email account is strong and secure with that 3 random dictionary word password technique that I talk about, because your email account is effectively your house for everything. So if somebody guesses your email password, they can then go to another service provider, let's say Facebook, click forgot my password. Where does that link go? Goes into your email account, and then they can then change your passwords to your email, to your Facebook account.
So, which I get. The practical challenge for me is when you have a password for every single website that's different. How do you manage that?
Okay,
write it down.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So it's a great question. So what we do recommend, if you're the sole user of a device and you're using your internet browser and it pops up and it says, do you want to save your password in your browser? We recommend that you do that.
Okay.
If you're the sole user of that device. If you're sharing it with other people in the household, we don't recommend doing that because that password needs to be personal to you. So the other option would be the use of a password manager.
Yeah, I use them.
Have you heard of those?
Yeah.
So that, again, you set up an account with your email address. Again, really long, strong, secure password using the 3 random dictionary word technique that we talked about. And once you're in there, that's like a secure vault for you to keep the passwords to the rest of your accounts. So you only need to remember that one password. Everything else is stored within your account.
Excellent. And I'm always concerned about my parents. I'm just thinking, knocking on 70, probably not as technical savvy as us.
Yeah,
maybe they are. But any advice for that? How do you kind of look after the elder generation?
It's that education, isn't it? It's and we find a lot of people, elder people, feel that they're being forced online, and it's having that conversation. Do they need to be online? Do they, if they feel uncomfortable doing it, is it something that they have to do? Age UK have a fantastic area on their website that gives cybersecurity advice that's particularly directed at the older generations, and it's just having that conversations with them and helping them to feel comfortable being online.
My dad's a sucker for one of those, like, you've won a holiday, click this link, and I'm like, well, have you actually even entered the competition? Oh no. Well, how have you won it then? And I'm like, oh, these Ray-Bans are 20 quid. I'm like, no, just stop clicking anything.
Hi guys, I just want to jump in and talk about a specific area of automation which we often get involved in, which is the processing of supplier invoices, or accounts payable automation as it's also known. Most businesses have invoices that they get sent from their suppliers. Essentially what our solutions do is they read those invoices, they extract key information from them, like purchase order numbers, supplier codes or supplier names. We then use that information and match that up against digital records. So can we find a purchase order number? Can we find a goods received note for that product? If we can, then we can match it up, we can reconcile it, and we can automatically post that into your finance system. What makes us different is that we configure our solutions to be specific to your organisation. So we're not an out-the-box, plug it in and see what you get. We actually understand more about your processes, your organisation, your supplier base, and we configure the solution to meet those requirements. Hopefully that's enough to pique your interest. If it is, get in touch, let's have a chat. So for businesses then, so what should businesses be doing to protect their people in terms of cybercrime?
So sorry, how do you mean in terms of?
So not necessarily consumers, but us, business owners, directors of organisations. What should they be doing to, I guess, educate their staff, their people around protection of cyber?
Here's a sales plug. As law enforcement, we can go in and give those talks to the directors, to their staff, provide education around password strength, enabling two-factor authentication on their accounts. For the businesses, it's really crucial. We recommend having regular backups of critical data. So if they are infected with, let's say, ransomware, they can restore from backup and get business as usual working as soon as possible. But for us, it's key that everybody within our organisation is cyber aware, has those strong passwords, all those security features enabled on all of their accounts, because if a cyber criminal gets into an employee's email account, they can then do what we call a man-in-the-middle attack and potentially send emails to contacts, suppliers, customers asking for money, and the supplier and customer might think, it's actually them. We need to send this money, and tens, thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds can be sent.
And we had that actually at our work, where when probably about 5-6 years ago, maybe even longer, maybe 7 years ago, I remember one of our head of finance at the time got an email from one of the directors saying, can we transfer some money from this account to my personal account or whatever? And she was a bit like, because literally the director was in the next office, so she was like, Ken, have you just asked me to transfer this money? And luckily she did, and had the thought of and otherwise she just click the link and it's
I mean that's another vital thing as well, is having that nous to sort of ask that question. So a lot of these cyber criminals play on so they use a technique that we call social engineering, and they play on the good nature of the human spirit, and that you're not going to ask questions, you're just going to do things to please people. So they're hoping that you're not going to ask that question, and you're not going to want to bother the director. You're just going to go ahead and do it. So it's having that confidence to ask those questions and saying, I've just received this email. Is this right? Should I be doing this? Because it's better to have that conversation there than having the conversation afterwards where you've just transferred X amount of money that you shouldn't have done that you now can't get back.
And presumably that starts with culture. It's having that
absolutely
culture to be able to ask those questions.
Yeah, it's changing that culture, and it's having those difficult conversations. But it needs to work from the bottom right up to the top, and the directors need to be ready to expect those sort of questions, and take those questions in the right manner, and not get angry or being disrupted. They should be grateful that their staff are trying to stay cyber aware.
They're absolutely asking those questions.
And if there is a breach, so if an employee gives away username, password, other than panic, or not panic probably, what do we do? What should a business do?
So a business should obviously remediate it, so change that password, so that if cyber criminals do get in, then attempt to get in, then the password's not going to be current anymore. Review their cybersecurity. So is there anything else that they can do to bolster their cybersecurity in terms of like admin privileges or staff privileges, to make sure that staff have the least privileged settings on their online accounts to allow them to do their job. So, does somebody who's working in sales need access to all the HR documents?
Yeah, they've got admin rights and things like that.
Absolutely. So they can't install things that they don't need to be installing. In terms of reporting it, reporting it to Action Fraud, that can be done through their website. Reporting it to local police forces, particularly if there has been a breach and data's been exfiltrated, or there's been a ransomware attack, something like that. And potentially to the ICO as well, if the Information Commission's office, if data has been exfiltrated.
Okay. And one of the themes that's coming up today already is around talent and how difficult it is at the minute to recruit and retain talent. I know cybersecurity is an area that's particularly prevalent. It's difficult. So how are you as an organisation recruiting talent, retaining talent? What are you doing about that?
Offering training, incentives in that respect. We're very we try to identify the right candidates for our roles. So we're particularly in North Yorkshire, we're all warranted police officers, but we don't just want anybody in this sort of role. We want people who are enthusiastic and have a real passion for for cyber security.
Yeah.
So yeah, making sure we're employing the right people and making sure they have that drive and ambition to remain in role.
Are you taking police officers and reskilling them in cybersecurity?
Yes, yeah. But everybody who works in our unit has that interest in cybersecurity anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned training in terms of like going into schools and colleges and things like that. And I mean, we said earlier when I was across there, it's quite easy for a teen to sort of have a laptop if they've got some sort of skills. They probably don't know that they're committing a crime. They're probably trying to hack the school or trying to do something as a bit of a prank or something like that. And it's very easy to get drawn into one way or another. And I guess education's obviously key, but there's some common sort of little things that the teens are sort of falling foul of. There's like hacking the school or doing something daft like that?
So one of the more common themes that we see is what we call a denial of service attack, which is effectively stopping internet from working or a computer from working.
Okay.
So we'll find that maybe these young individuals are getting maybe bored in lessons, not finding the lessons interesting enough. So we'll start trying to further their techniques by doing online research, or maybe don't want to do exams or something, and we'll try and knock the school network using a booter tool or something like that.
It's not the network off.
I think the thing as well is, without that education, a lot of these young individuals don't realise the implications of their actions as well. They think, it'll just knock the internet off for 5 minutes and everything will be fine. They don't realise that there can be that ongoing implication to the school. So, yeah, like you say, it's all about that education. Maybe at times they don't realise they're committing an offence. So it's us having that conversation with them, letting them know where they stand in terms of the law, so that they're educated not to commit it again, but then pointing them in the right direction and giving them some resources that they can use to further their interests in a legal and lawful manner, to then hopefully get a successful career in cybersecurity. Like and again, like I've said earlier on, in terms of us being able to go into businesses and have that conversation with businesses, we can do the same with schools. So we're more than happy to go in and deliver presentations to schools, in assemblies, IT lessons, giving that education around what the Computer Misuse Act is and how people can stay on the right side of it. And also we will work with individuals on a one-to-one basis. So if young individuals are referred to us, we can work with them, have that one-to-one conversation, not in front of their peers, with their parents, and say, this is what you've done, this is how it's illegal, this is what could potentially happen if you commit it again. But if you don't commit it again, here's some fantastic opportunities that you could strive in your future.
Yeah, that's definitely the way forward, isn't it? You just sort of change the direction of travel.
Absolutely.
The podcast is called Tomorrow's Workplace Today, so we're always kind of looking to the future. So I guess, difficult question for you, but in 10 years' time, what is this going to look like, do you think, cybersecurity? There are new emerging trends that are probably going to be more prevalent in 10 years?
At the minute, we've seen a shift in ransomware. So our main threat at the minute is ransomware, because it can be used as what we call like a software as a service. So people can go onto the dark web, buy some ransomware and deploy it on someone's system. So it's really, really quite simple in a way to use.
And what do you mean by ransomware, just for
ransomware is a tool it's a malware, so it's a malicious software that's deployed on a computer, on a network, and it basically infiltrates the network. It will encrypt everybody's folders on that, and it will you'll get a note saying, we've just encrypted all of your data, pay us, let's say £1,000 in Bitcoin, and we will give you access back to your folders. That's clearly very detrimental for businesses, for anybody, because it immediately then effectively shuts down their IT infrastructure, and they don't have access to their files, folders, and they can't run as a successful business. It's now stepped up a level, so we're seeing data exfiltration with that as well. So as well as the attackers encrypting data, they're stealing the data and saying, if you don't pay us the money, we're going to post all of your data on the dark web.
Would they try and sell it, or is it just to post it? And
it's a threat. It's a post. So depending on the strain of ransomware, it might be sold, or it might just be posted for free for people to access.
Businesses, I don't know if you can answer this. Are businesses paying those ransoms? How are they handling that?
So we can't say whether businesses should pay or not pay. It's down to the businesses themselves. All we can do is sort of say, if you do pay, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get your data back. It's not guaranteed that they aren't going to post your data online. Also, you could be funding terrorism, you could be funding further offences. Also, they're going to know that you're vulnerable, and you could be susceptible to another attack, and you could be likely to pay the ransom again. So we do see some businesses pay it, other businesses don't. It depends on them.
I guess
really.
it goes back to having good backups and making sure
Absolutely.
you've got a fallback position if you need it.
Yeah. So in terms of sort of support that's out there for businesses, there's the North East Business Resilience Centre, who are here with us today. They are a mixture of police, private sector and education.
Okay.
So they offer cybersecurity advice as well. They also offer a sort of pen testing, a penetration testing, vulnerability assessments. So yeah, they can have a look at your network and see where these gaps are. We've also got Police Cyber Alarm, which effectively is like an intelligence gathering tool for us, really. It sits on a company's firewall, and it monitors their internet traffic in and out of the business. Now, it doesn't actually monitor what's being sent, but what it does monitor is what we call the metadata. So it's the data around what's been sent, so where it's coming from, potentially who's sending it. That way we can get a better picture across the UK of sort of IP ranges that are potentially malicious and are being used to attack businesses, and also like common ports that are potentially being attacked. So yeah, that's a free tool that's available as well, and that also offers a monthly free vulnerability scan of your network.
So there's actually quite a lot of services and support out there.
I think businesses as well, they tend to think it's not going to happen to us. Nobody wants our data, and they don't actually realise the severity of it until it's happened to them. So that's another reason why we're here today, is to say, it's key. If you put these mitigating factors in place now, you're going to save yourself a whole load of money should you fall victim of that sort of attack.
Good message to leave it on. So thank you very much, Liam. Really insightful. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers.